Ladies and gentlemen, it took them 100 years, but the Illuminate, well, they've been destroyed. Check this out. They've been wiped off the map. This is absolutely insane. Look at this. Success. The resurgent Illuminate have been repelled by the Helldivers. Order has been restored on Calypso. It is assessed that a small cell of the Illuminate forces survived their eradication at the end of the First Galactic War, staying hidden until now. Recent democratic activity may have made their discovery imminent, precipitating the recent attack. The shocking invasion of Calypso left colonies in ruins. Thousands remain unaccounted for. Multiple units have been reported. Human-like combatants on the battlefield. The voteless scum. Investigations into these reports are ongoing. Despite the audacity of this shocking and unprovoked assault, the Helldivers once again proved their unmatched martial prowess. The enemy is retreated in defeat. The Super Earth Armed Forces Recon units will soon hunt down any remnants. As soon as they are located, they will be eradicated. Look at the map. So if you were thinking, oh yeah, I've had a lovely weekend, I'm now going to come and play against some Illuminate, but good luck, they're literally dead. Now, it's pretty obvious that they're going to bring them back fairly soon, I would imagine. We're probably going to see like a massive, large-scale invasion. Kind of like what happened with the automatons, I guess, where they resurge and they come back and they start taking over big sectors of the bottom of the galaxy. I think that's going to happen. But isn't this amazing? This is actually incredible. Like, nothing brings together the community more than a new faction that is completely against democracy, and that also needs wiping out. Everybody turns back up. All the old Helldivers who maybe had retired they are now back, and it's just incredible. But we've got loads to cover in this video, guys, so let's break it all down. Also the Recon vehicle, so check this out. Site construction update. The Admiral Defense, the AM factory hub, has been completed. Production of fast Recon vehicles, FRVs, for all Helldiver battle spaces is on schedule to begin within the next several days. So this is good stuff. It means that, yeah, we're going to be able to just, well, have this as a stratagem, and we'll be able to unlock it on our ship, which is cool, hopefully, in the next couple of days. So this is actually insane. Over 1 million Helldivers actually dropped on this planet, Calypso, within 24 hours. Now, if that doesn't show this update has been a success, and I don't really know what will. Now, obviously, we could go and take a look at stuff like SteamDB and see the player counts were trending higher. I think we got up to about 150,000 concurrent players, and yeah, that's a lot. So like over 1 million in a 24-hour period is crazy. But over the weekend, like the last 3 days or so, it's pretty been consistent at that level. Obviously, it's dropping off a bit now because, well, the Illuminate have been killed, so there's really no reason to come and play the game at the moment. But like I said, they will update this. They will bring them back fairly soon. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring them back today as of me recording this video, because, yeah, like, they're not going to keep a major faction out of the game for too long. But this was actually dropped by Johan, and he said, you know, over 1 million players have made Planetfall in the last 24 hours. So yeah, this is a major success for the game. But there is also one other major success we should probably talk about. So Helldivers 2 won Game of the Year for multiplayer Game of the Year. It didn't win the big major title. It wasn't obviously up for that. And I think, to be honest, for me, this was my Game of the Year. This was a game which I didn't think I'd get to experience a game like this again, where it completely revolutionizes things in a way that you don't expect. I didn't expect to be playing this game this year. I knew about Helldivers from back in the day, but I wasn't really interested. Helldivers 2, though, it was something new. It was something completely fresh. And I think that they really killed it with the development of this game. And yeah, so they definitely did. I think it goes without saying, winning that Game of the Year for multiplayer Game of the Year, I think makes sense. I know the game has had a lot of issues, and we will talk about that in a second, because some of the developers have done an interview, and we can break that down, because, yeah, a lot of things happened in the year. But I still think it's a bit sad they didn't even get nominated for Game of the Year. Now, I know they had some major problems. They came out of the gate, I suppose, swinging. They got massive, like nearly like 500,000 people concurrently were playing the game. Everybody was talking about it. It was awesome. And then we had the whole issue with PlayStation. We had the PSN drama. We had the balance problems, and things were just getting out of control. You could see this was a studio that wasn't really equipped to deal with a game of this size. We had like crazy community managers making insane statements, developers making crazy statements. It was a problem, and you could see the player base was declining over time. They would release updates that were maybe not the best. We had war bonds with pointless weapons, pointless upgrades, and all of that stuff. But they have kind of fixed that. It took them a year, but it's, yeah, they've kind of fixed that. So maybe, I suppose, technically, you can understand why it doesn't it wasn't even nominated for Game of the Year. But I do think for me, definitely is Game of the Year, and I think it definitely did deserve multiplayer Game of the Year. I think the only other game up there for me that would be in contention for this would be Space Marine 2, but again, that wasn't nominated, so yeah, whatever. But Helldivers 2 won multiplayer Game of the Year. That is good stuff. So this is the interview. It was taken from Games Radar, and this is the headline. I think life should be interesting. Helldivers 2 Games Director explains why Arrowhead's Rollercoaster year was a privilege and not a curse. It's very high highs, but very low lows. All right, let's take a look at this. So this interview is with the game director Michael Erickson and the production director Alex Bolly. And this is what they say. Bolly wastes few words. A roller coaster, he says, it's very high highs and very low lows. But while those lows may have been hard to stomach, especially for a company with a peak as lofty as Arrowhead's, Bolly says that the studio's journey over the last 10 months has been very valuable, an opportunity to learn how to make and maintain a live game while making sure to match player expectations. For him, the ability to interact with players and make changes that excite them has been the highlight of the year. I think this goes without saying, right? So one of the big things with Helldivers 2 throughout the year is the way it delivered the live service story. Now, I know it's not been great all of the time. There's been moments where it's been really good. So obviously, recently, yeah, there's a whole new faction. It's the Illuminate. It's really good. Things like the Meridia Black Hole, again, really good. You've got really good moments like that. But there's a lot of moments where it's just go and defend 5 planets, go and do this, do that. It's the same things over and over again. And that does get kind of boring. But it's still an interesting and dynamic way for them to deliver the live service story because they can still change things. They can drop surprise stratagems and things like that. I remember when the mechs got launched as well. That was really good. So yeah, I think it is. I think it's accurate to say there were high highs and there were low lows. But I think it's probably referring to the fact that they had massive negative backlash from the player base with bad updates and the whole PSN drama, and they've been trying to work through that. But it's Erickson who really seems to embrace the chaotic ups and downs that Arrowhead has been through. Softly spoken, Erickson has spent less time on the front line of the studio's comm strategy than Arrowhead's leader Johan Pilestat or Shams Georgiani. It is clear that he is thrilled by Helldivers 2's wild ride. Yes, we've been on a roller coaster, he tells me, but we're also in an extremely privileged position to be on this roller coaster. I feel lucky to be on this ride with everyone. Not all studios, not all games have this privilege, so I'm super grateful for that. And yeah, fair enough. I mean, the community is the strength of this game because the entire game is built around the community. And as we know, with the whole PSN drama, it was almost like a major order outside of the game where everyone got together and there were negative reviews on the game, a lot of negative backlash, and it did force Sony to make some changes. And remember, they still haven't made all the changes. The game still isn't available in every country because if they don't have the PSN agreement in place, then they just don't have the game available, which is still terrible because remember, initially it was sold in every country, so that still needs to be resolved. And also, where is the PSN or the downvote cape that we were promised like what, 9 months ago now? That's getting ridiculous. It's certainly true that not all games have this kind of journey. Relatively few people, myself included, expected Helldivers 2 to be this breakout phenomenon it proved to be. Some of that was luck. Erickson acknowledges that launching in the relatively quiet period at the beginning of the year was extremely good, but much of it was quality and innovation. Plenty of games falter despite optimal launch windows or thrive during busy periods. For Erickson, Helldivers owes its success to a couple other factors. One of those is simple. Nothing can beat having a good game that players love. You need that, otherwise it doesn't matter when you release anything. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the moral of the story. Now, if you watch the Game Awards, you would see Sven from Larian get up on the stage and actually just say, look, guess what? You make a good game, it becomes Game of the Year. Also, if you make a good game, you also make money. The problem with the games industry is too many companies are out there trying to make money off existing player bases, rinsing them with crazy monetization strategies. In fact, even at that award show, you had the heads of Xbox Gaming sitting on the front row. You had Phil Spencer just looking like he'd been slapped across the face because all the developers are getting up on the stage going, it's outrageous people are being fired because they're not meeting quotas for whatever number of stupid cosmetics in the battle pass. It is insane. The problem with all of that is you don't get innovation. So when we look at Helldivers 2, and again, I think this is why the game was so, to me anyway, was so awesome, and also to loads of other people, is it innovated. You didn't expect the innovation, but you got it. You got a really good quality game, and then it had fair monetization. You can't ask for anything more. And obviously, Baldur's Gate 3 is the big outlier in this world. They just delivered a good game, and then you bought the game, and it was good and that was it. And guess what? It won Game of the Year. It sold millions and millions of copies. So there's no secret to this. It's just make a good, innovative game. But too many developers are tied up in a world where they're having to make cosmetics. So they're not making innovative games, and that's a bit sad. The reception comes with a financial windfall. When you attract more than 5 times more players than you were hoping for, your bottom line starts to look pretty good. While neither Arrowhead nor Sony is talking openly about the money, Bolly explains that the game's success is definitely putting us on a more stable horizon. In times as uncertain as these, Bolly has previously discussed the dire state of the industry. He says that it feels good to see that we can look ahead a long time and keep the devs happy as well. So in terms of numbers and how much money this game has made, it is there's a lot of figures thrown around there. You can just say this made this much, that much. You can look at how many active players the game's got. You can look at how many sales the game's has made. It's upwards of $250 million. It's probably closer to $400 million in that kind of range. But then you have to take in distribution fees. Obviously, you've got development costs, you've got staff costs, you've got the Sony cut, whatever that turns out to be. So I think it's over $200 million, which is a crazy amount of money for a studio that doesn't have thousands of developers. And it means that, yeah, they are sustainable now for a very long time. So this gives them the chance to keep Helldivers 2 alive while also looking at other projects in the future. So that's a good place for them to be in. But I mean, this is totally deserved because the game is fun and it deserved the success it got. Ericsson agrees. It's given us financial stability to keep going for many years, which is a really big privilege. For the most part, it doesn't seem like the attitude with the devs has changed that much. There was, however, one change. Before launch, some devs would express their desire to go to one of these big studios with the big games, the Blizzards, the Naughty Dogs, the Rockstars of the world, clearly holding sway over some members of Arrowhead. All of a sudden, however, Ericsson says, we were one of those overnight. So it's interesting, isn't it? Like, they're kind of, when you do look at development studios, obviously we'll use Blizzard as the example here because I've got a lot of experience with them. In the past, they were producing hit after hit after hit. You had perceivably the best developers were there. Everyone wanted to work there. We obviously had that thing of the Blizzard tax where when you worked there, they'd actually pay you less because it was seen as a privilege to work there. And it was a good stamp to have on your sort of CV, like, yeah, I worked at Blizzard and I worked on this game or whatever. Obviously, in recent years, that's changed. But it's still interesting to see that that kind of thought is there with these teams thinking, we want to hit those heights, right? And I think this is more to do with getting to those heights. Like I said, it's like becoming a world-renowned producer of games. And Arrowhead has kind of come from, what? They made Magicka. Yeah, that was fun. It was a stupid fun game back in the day. Then they had Helldivers 1. Yeah, it was okay, kind of like Magicka, but in space with guns. And then they made Helldivers 2. So they've just gone into another level. And the question will be, where do they go from here? Because they do have the financial platform to go forward. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Those scars, however, are something that Ericsson seems almost proud of. I think life should be interesting, he says. I think life should be like living through an interesting book. I don't want to read through a book where it's like, and then everything was okay. Those low moments were frustrating, but Helldivers 2 director says he's loved pretty much every second of this ride. In part, that's due to the players who he suggests are exceptionally well attuned to ideas that would improve the game. With many other games, players can struggle to have ideas about how the game could be developed further. But with Helldivers, people have brilliant ideas. And yeah, like, again, this just goes back to the community, right? The community is good around this game because of the way the game's designed. Now, I always remember when the game first launched, everyone was like, oh, look, friendly fire's on. Everyone's just going to be trolling and being killed repeatedly over and over in missions. It never happens. In fact, it has never happened to me. Ever. I mean, yeah, you die to, like, the odd bit of fire. You die to, like, I don't know, things that you meant to die to, right? So airstrike gets dropped on you by your team. They didn't mean to do it, whatever, right? But I've never been in a game where someone is just intentionally killing the team over and over again. I know it's happened, but it's not common. And that goes down to the design of the game. And you look at other games, and other developers, if they'd made Helldivers 2, I can guarantee you they would not have put friendly fire in it because they'd just been like, oh no, this will affect player retention, this will affect some sort of stupid engagement metric, and so they don't even add it to the game, when in reality, no, it works. And again, to go off on a bit of a tangent here, I've been playing Path of Exile 2 recently, and that game is like complexity on complexity, systems on systems. It is absolutely ridiculous, but you would think in a world of, let's say, Blizzard, especially with Diablo 4, because obviously that's a direct competitor to Path of Exile, that game is very, I don't want to say dumbed down, but it's very refined, let's say. There's a lot of systems in it that are not, well, not present, right? So it's a simpler I don't even know how to say this. It's like a simpler game than it could be. Yet Path of Exile 2 is delivering what a Diablo game should be in 2024 with layers of complexity. And again, they've got over 500,000 players playing that game right now on Steam, which is wiping the floor with Diablo 4 numbers. So, I mean, that just goes to tell you everything. Players ain't stupid, and a lot of these developers need to stop treating them like they are. Those kinks seem to have been ironed out. Bolly says that Arrowhead is definitely doing better from a production standpoint, while Ericsson says the road will hopefully be less bumpy going forward. But does that mean that the studio is done taking big swings? Bolly acknowledged that you can't match everyone's needs. It's impossible to create the magic recipe that everyone will enjoy. That's why Omens of Tyranny is aimed at more hardcore fans, and it's why Ericsson says that Arrowhead might mess up again in the future. But for all the ways the studio might fail, it's gone a long way into controlling the beast. It is the beast that it's created, and that paves the way for a lengthy future. Even with all the ups and downs, Ericsson concluded, I'm happy to be on this ride, and we're super committed to keeping the ride going for as long as we can. So there's an interesting point here, right? This thing of the update, the Omens update, is more for the hardcore audience. I think what he means by that is everybody knew the Illuminate was coming, right? And they were waiting for them to come, and then they would jump back into the game. So you had, like, obviously a massive explosion of players at launch, tons of people playing for a couple of months, and then things get a bit samey, right? So the same missions that, you know, you're fighting Terminids, you're fighting automatons. They try and change it a little bit by adding different missions here and there, adding a couple of new enemies, but it is fundamentally still the same game. So if you've played it for hundreds of hours, you've kind of had your fill, and that's fine. You don't have to play a game forever. That's great. And then you go off on your merry way and you play all the other hundreds of games that are out at the moment. But then, what are you waiting for? You're waiting for the new faction to come. You know the Illuminate are coming, and bang, they turn up. You jump back in the game and you start playing it again. And we can see that they've seen success from that. But will that attract new players? And I think this is what he's kind of saying here, why this is more of a hardcore update and it's not a less hardcore update, being that some way to get players into the game who haven't played Helldivers before. Because I think one of the dangers with this game is as time goes on, you end up, it's almost like an MMO where you end up with a community that becomes quite impenetrable. I mean, the community is welcoming to new people, but it's difficult. If you come into the game and you don't know how, you know, what the enemies are doing, what weapons to use against them, the weak points on enemies, how to complete missions, the whole list of other issues, then it can be quite impenetrable. And as time goes on, again, most players are generally higher level or they've got more experience, so you don't really get a lot of low-level players that don't really know what they're doing. So, yeah, it's an interesting thought, I think, but we'll have to wait and see what they'll do in terms of trying to get more players into the game. But here's the thing, they don't even need more players, right? And that's a way that all these old development studios, all these ones run by all the financial money men, that's what they want. They want more players all the time. Every update's got to grow the game. But I'm going to be honest, if you've got a game that's made hundreds of millions of dollars and you've got, you know, hundreds of thousands of people playing the game, I don't think you care. I think you've done a good job. You don't really need to worry about bringing players in. And there is one last thing I'll say here with a Blizzard connection. Overwatch struggled from this in the past, where the game was, Overwatch 2 was basically designed to pull in a new audience rather than service the existing audience, which was like 50 million plus players. And all Helldivers has got to do is service the 10, 15, 20 million players the game has got, and it'll be fine forever. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. I've been Stylosa. You can follow me on everything, which is @Stylosa, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. See you soon.